It's just that simple. And what we can do is we can say, there's no problem, system's all just fine, you know, we just got to win the election. If we replace a crowd of corporate Republicans with corporate Democrats, everything's going to change. I don't believe it. I don't. You seen the way these lobbying firms work in Washington? Unfortunately, I've seen it. It's ugly. What happens is, if you're ExxonMobil, you go to one of the biggest lobbying firms in Washington, and you hire them. This is what you get. Half the lobbyists are Republicans, half of them are Democrats. If the Republicans are in power, the Republican lobbyists take the lead and raise the money. If the Democrats are in power, the Democratic lobbyists are in the lead. They're doing the same thing for the same people. That's why this has to change. We can't continue on this course. We can't. And I'll start with what I think is one of the most pervasive influences, which is the influence of lobbyists. I mean, you all know this, and by the way, this is not abstract. This stuff finds its way into every single thing we're trying to do. Everything. The Medicare prescription drug law that was passed several years ago. I was there when that thing passed. You know who wrote it? Drug company lobbyists wrote it. That's who wrote it. And it's the reason we didn't do anything to bring down costs of prescription drugs. Because they got everything they wanted. They got people to vote in their favor, the same people that they were raising money for at night. The same thing. It is time for us to say no to this. And good people get caught up in this. They start to think that nothing's wrong. It's all okay. It's been this way for a long time. It's all okay. It's not okay. I'll give you a couple of examples. Senator Clinton is having an event in, I don't think it's taking place yet, sometime in the next several weeks. It's called Rural Americans for Hillary. I think I got the name right. Rural Americans for Hillary. You know where she's having it? Inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. I don't know where the people are coming from. Maybe they'll ship them in or something. But it's being held at the chief lobbyist for Monsanto. I mean, there's something wrong with this picture. There just is. And then she had an event a few weeks ago, a few months ago now, maybe. I lost track of time, but not too long ago, where what they did is they, for $1,000 a plate, they brought people in who were allowed to have meetings with the head of the committees and subcommittees that dealt with Homeland Security. And these were Homeland Security contractors and lobbyists. How do you think about that picture? Do most Americans get that kind of access? Do most Americans give money and then they get to sit down with the people who are going to actually write the laws that directly affect them? This is not a pretty picture. And we have to do something about it. We have to say, no, this is not okay. And I want to say something to all of you, because you are an important piece of this. You actually have the ability to do something about this right now. You do. New Hampshire, whoa, boy, we got a few people coming in. I didn't see all of them. Glad you're here. If New Hampshire primary voters said, starting tomorrow, now I know I'm asking for a lot, but if New Hampshire primary voters said, starting tomorrow, we will not vote for a candidate for president that continues to raise millions of dollars from Washington lobbyists. If you said that, it would change. I mean, it would change overnight. The presidential candidates would stop doing it, and not only that, the people in Washington who are awash with this money would stop. They'd say, we hear the voice of the people of New Hampshire. I'm proud of the fact that I've never taken money from Washington lobbyists. This is not about me. And I'm not asking anybody to give any money back. I'm not. But really, I mean, you look at the amounts of money that are being raised in this presidential campaign. It is obscene. I mean, it is obscene. $75 to $100 million? How much money do people need to run a campaign? I mean, really? I hope we're going to have an election, not an auction here in New Hampshire. But your voice matters. You can make a difference. You can. And it is, you know, I've come to this place in my life where I'm tired of just saying it's all okay. We should just go along, you know, and everything will take care of itself. We don't have forever to fix these problems. We don't. And we have a responsibility to our children and our grandchildren. We do. Another example, not just healthcare. You know, we're preserving the planet. Global warming is a crisis by any possible measure. Why have we not done anything about it? I can tell you why. I know why. Because of oil companies, gas companies, power companies, and their incredible presence in lobbying in Washington, D.C. This has to change. This has to be brought to an end. And let's talk about health care for just a minute. Because no one can really seriously think our health care system works. I mean, really, we've got 47 million people that don't have any coverage. 2 million more than we had just a year ago. Health insurance premiums are up over 100%. There is only one answer, and that answer is universal health care, mandated for every man, woman, and child in this country. I'll tell you an experience that I had that had an enormous effect on me. You know, I guess it was a few months ago now, I was in Western Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains. Up early one morning, sitting at a picnic table with a group of people. There was a guy sitting a couple seats down from me, and he said, his name was James Lowe, and he described to me what he had been through. He was born with a severe cleft palate, and because he had this severe cleft palate, he could not speak. But he had no health care. It was totally fixable by the time he was young. But because he had no health care coverage, he couldn't fix it. Finally, some good person voluntarily fixed it for him. Here's the problem. They fixed it when he was 50 years old. James Lowe lived in the United States of America for 50 years, not able to speak because he had no health care coverage. And I listened to this story, and I combine it with the stories I've heard from women who come up to Elizabeth and me and say they're like Elizabeth, they've been diagnosed with breast cancer, but they don't have any health care coverage. And it's absolutely ripping them up. They can't get the care they need. They can't help their children. And I don't feel good about this. I don't. Because this corrupt system and the way it operates is keeping us. America knows we need universal health care. I mean, maybe we wouldn't be 100% in this room, but it'd be close. Everybody believes that Americans are entitled to health care coverage. And anybody who doesn't, by the way, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, what I would say is you should explain to us what Americans not worthy of health care. Really. In the richest nation on the planet, what family, what child is not worthy of health care?